Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Buffalo Roundup, a different edition, video edition.
We got some new tricks.
We got new tricks up our sleeves. Welcome to the Buffalo Roundup. Of course, your home for all things Buffalo athletics. It's made by the Buffalo for the Buffalo. I'm Cody Hills. This is what I look like. If you didn't know before, this is Marty Zero.
This is what I look like. Probably you've seen me around.
So doing things a little differently. Got a video podcast, or at least adding a little video component. Should be pretty fun. Obviously, out here on top of the balcony on the fourth floor of the H.G. Moore Stadium, here out here at the range. Good view, Marty, for a podcast. Better, even though it's a great recording studio inside. I will say I think I favor this a little more.
Yeah, it's definitely nice out here. Probably the last week we'll be comfortable filming outside. So a little taste of it, but I think the evolution of this podcast is we've been talking a lot about the sports, but we haven't really shown people about the sports, and I think it's time we start doing that and showing off the beautiful facilities we have.
Of course, right behind us, softball, practice football, you get the whole work. So, well, in the middle of it, outdoors, must be springtime. Of course, we got baseball and softball, track, flag football, holy smokes, boys, weightlifting, tennis. What am I missing?
I think that's it.
I think it's everybody.
If we missed anybody, we're sorry.
Beach volleyball.
Oh, yeah, beach volleyball. That's new.
Can't forget them.
That's new.
Certainly we'll talk about all those and more coming up. And, well, shoot, Marty. I guess we'll just jump right into it. What do we want to start with? The Diamond Sports?
Yeah, let's start with baseball and softball. Both of them off to interesting start to their seasons, both being pretty dominant in the games they're playing against local competition.
Yeah, baseball and softball, I think I would guess right, or I would say right about where I had them expectations-wise. Right, I think we've seen baseball be led by pitching as they've been the last couple of years. We've seen softball. I've actually been pretty impressed with softball because coming into the year, I thought there were a lot of young, inexperienced pieces that hadn't really played before, or at least at the varsity level. And now they've seemingly have found their victory legs underneath them a little bit here and starting to win some games. And I guess I'll let you take whichever one you want to go first, whichever one you want to talk about. But there's been a lot, I think, to talk about of both of them so far.
Yeah, I think we've seen more baseball on campus than softball so far. They played 9 of their last 10 games at home. So in April, as we do more versions of this podcast, we'll get to talk more about them. We'll see more of them. Baseball, just kind of off to a start you would expect, but also not expect. They struggled against Trinity Catholic and Bishop Moore. It seemed like the first 2 weeks of the season was marred by offensive struggles, could not get the bats going. They weren't making contact. Head coach Alex Menendez, I think the word he used was something like too reserved at the plate. They really just they were trying to take balls for walks, and they ended up striking out looking. And any coach doesn't want to strike out, but I think they feel better about a swinging strikeout than a looking strikeout. But yeah, last week they kind of picked up. They had multiple games with 5+ hits in it, multiple games with 5+ runs in it. Beat a really good Forest team. It's picking up for them, and I think they're on the way. They had a little rivalry matchup last week against South Sumter at South Sumter, and it's been fun to watch that team kind of evolve. I think now it's time for the pitching to really step up and take it to the next level. You've got Lincoln Gagne, who's doing really well, and Tommy Jakes, who has struggled to find the strike zone a little bit, but when he starts throwing strikes, he's unhittable.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think first off, Alex Menendez has coached his tail off, right? We've seen him mix lineups up. We've seen him at times, I feel like he's just throwing names into his hat and then deciding who's going to be in the order at sometimes, but it's worked, right? As you said, they've started to find themselves a little bit offensively. I do think I agree with you. I think the team goes as it's been built in recent years as far as the pitching and defense takes it. Defense has been, I would say, I think they're starting to be a little bit more settled in. Maybe it's because some guys are in different spots or new spots, but pitching. Lincoln Gagne has been terrific. This team hasn't needed him as a starter the last couple years. If you think about some of the starters they've had with Carter Parks, Ruben Barron, even some of the arms before that.
Really shows the work he's put in travel baseball and in the offseason.
Yeah.
Because he looks like a starting pitcher.
Yeah, he really does. He's in terms of just, I think, his stamina, he's stretched out more. He's better, longer in games. Everything's
2 complete games, I think.
Yeah, I think so. He's looking really good. And then Tommy Jakes. I think still the ace of the staff, if you will, right? If you have well, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't put the cart ahead of the horse. I think if Lincoln Gagne, if you have one, got to give the ball to one guy in one game, I think it's a fun conversation to have.
I think it's a look at the other team's lineup, their batting order. Tommy Jake's a lefty, Lincoln Gagne a righty. You might want to favor the matchup.
Sure.
And, as it gets to playoffs, Alex Menendez has shown he can be creative and maybe use both of them for a couple innings and keep them under the pitch count to be able to play every step of the way. You know, Lincoln Gagne for 3, Tommy Jakes for 3, and then he doesn't have to go to his bullpen as much.
Well, you definitely have to get creative in the postseason. You're going to need multiple guys, of course. But, yeah, I think Tommy Jakes, as you said, got to settle the walks down. I joke with him after the last home game here. They played a top-ranked Windermere team, a high-ranked Windermere team. Will you stop walking people? And he just laughed and said, I don't know. I got to figure it out. I think he will. But yeah, I think if the bats come around, the weather heats up a little bit, you never know. Let's shift our gears to softball. And if I said Coach Menendez has coached his tail off, Coach Whitney Cosgray has coached a couple tails off, I feel like, because this is a team really inexperienced, I thought, coming into the year, at least varsity experience. And all of a sudden,
what is it, 3 seniors?
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that.
And they just rattled off their second 3-game win streak of the season recently. So finished up with a home game last week. Of course, they've already played this week. But just your thoughts on what we've seen out of them. And I think she's done a tremendous job in getting this group playing together and playing winning softball.
Yeah, where I think the strategy for the baseball team changed from not swinging to swinging. It's almost a mirror in softball. They seem tentative and afraid to get out and either strike out or line out or ground out. We saw the Buffalo Stampede softball tournament. We saw a bunch of games here. They played 4 in 2 days, and it really showed off, the progression from then until last week watching them play at home. To be honest, I think what's really happened is all of the freshmen and sophomore almost have aged to junior and senior in terms of experience level in the first couple weeks. And honestly, not only has Coach Cosgray coached her tail off, but big props to her on building a schedule that they can win early and gain that confidence going down the road. Now they believe they can win. And, baseball and softball, such a mental game. A lot less about the tangibles. I mean, obviously you want the best players on the field, but
right.
If you have an off mental night, it doesn't matter how good you are. And if you have a good mental night, sometimes you can overcome some of your talent deficiencies.
Yeah, and it's huge for a young team. I mean, as basketball coach, just the younger you are, the quicker you can instill that confidence. And we're starting to see it out of some of their younger players. I've also been really impressed by Lexi Sanchez at the top of that order. I mean, been really fun to watch at shortstop, and I think she was hitting over 600 the last home game. I think she was 6th or 7th in Class 3A. I mean,
she had 5 errors through the first 3 games, and now she hasn't had any. It's that the pace of the game has become natural to her. And we all knew coming into this season, rising freshman Emily Thompson was going to be their ace. But I tell you what, Sid Rich provides a second pitcher for them that really offers a great option for them to be able to choose. And once again, you get to play that lefty-righty conversation.
Right, yeah. And that's a good point on Sid, too, because I don't want to say all eyes turn towards Miss Thompson in the pitching circle, and rightfully so. I mean, she was up, 160-some strikeouts last season as an 8th grader.
A few more than you threw in Little League back in the day.
For a lot more. But it's sort of like Sid Rich said, well, don't forget about me. Like, I can still contribute. And we know what she can do at the plate and what she's been able to do throughout her career in right field, but also now as a pitcher, again, getting that other opportunity. She's come in, and I think she has a sub-2 ERA the last time I looked. So, been really strong in the pitching circle. And, yeah, like you said, they're going to have some home cooking here coming up. 9 of the last 10 at home. I think that's going to help. We just watched them leave a little bit ago, baseball team as well. They've been on the road quite a bit. I think going to be able to come home, have some familiarity. I think we're going to see them rack up some more wins as the season goes on.
For sure. And, we'll get to see them play a lot after spring break next week. Baseball plays a game during spring break. I think softball doesn't have any games scheduled, so they'll get some good practice time in and also some rest. The sprint in baseball and softball is just ridiculous. They start in January with working out, tryouts in late January, early February, and then it's like the last week of February hits, and it's like, you better play 15 games in 2 weeks.
It's time to go.
Because otherwise you're going to play 30 in 3 weeks at the end of it. But yeah, they're really picking up, and it's a lot of fun to watch. It's a lot of fun to see them on turf. New experience for all of them. You can see softball in the background, baseball's around the corner. And, it's really a great experience for those players to get that and to play on a field that's consistent every single night, and no rainouts from just a little drizzle.
Yep.
That's going to hit big towards the mid of April.
Well, we've talked about it, I think, in the press box, but I look back here now, it doesn't look as cozy from this view, but you come here and watch a game or you get behind home plate, it's a cozy, intimate feel back there. Like, everything's in front of you. There's not a bad seat in the place. Same with baseball as well. Obviously, a little bit more spacious yard there, but boy, it feels like this could be a fun place to watch some ball games here. For sure.
And, fans can pick up their tickets by visiting the athletics website, athletics.tvcs.org. Post-game recap stories, photo galleries now being added. These podcasts are there, and at the top of the page, there's a ticket link that will take you to GoFan, our official ticket provider now.
Athletics.tvcs.org. Get there. We spent a lot of time on it. Get there. Well, Marty, let's talk a little bit about some other spring sports, and I'm going to go. We don't have a script. We don't have notes. We're doing things a little different.
We messed that up today.
That's all right.
We sat down, we hit record, and we go, oh, we don't know what we're doing.
That's all right. We're going to wing it. And got the video on for the first time. Might as well. Let's show the people the everyone wants to eat the sausage. No one wants to see how the sausage is made. This is it. I'm going to go off script here a little bit. Not that we had a script. I want to talk about beach volleyball because obviously first year having the sport at the Villages High School. Maybe can we see? You might be able to see some of the beach courts out.
They'll probably see that fifth court over there.
Yeah, out to the outfield is softball. 5 courts on campus. You can count on one hand the number of schools within 50 miles of here that would have a facility on campus like this. Chris Hamilton, first-year head coach, also brought aboard to help out the Villages Youth Sports Club with the Buffalo Stampeders beach volleyball program. A collegiate coach formerly, University of Tampa, Stetson, leading this program. First off, your thoughts on just how freaking exciting it is to have beach volleyball and what an asset it's going to be for our fall indoor volleyball program as well.
Yeah, beach volleyball, less popular among high schools, kind of a new sport to the game, but everybody's familiar with it from United States Beach Volleyball, Misty May Trainer, and her partner,
Carrie Walsh Jennings,
just taking gold for what seemed like 20 years at the Olympics. And we actually had Misty May Trainer here back in July, and she toured the beach volleyball facility and said some great things about it and expressed wanting to come back and host clinics and all. But that kind of just gets into it's becoming popular at high school and college. Colleges, you find in beach volleyball a lot of athletes that were indoor volleyball players that maybe couldn't get a full scholarship and that actually get a scholarship in beach volleyball and move out to the sand and outdoors. I think out of the top 25 NCAA rankings, 5 of them are Florida schools. So
wow.
It's obviously we're in Florida, beaches everywhere. It's becoming a popular sport. It's been popular for a long time in the international scene, but now finally making its way down to the youth levels. And, it's a lot of fun to watch. You got, 2 players per side, and they cover a lot of ground, and it's a quick, action-packed game. And out of all of our athletes there, I think almost every single one of our varsity volleyball players is out there participating this spring.
Yeah, and we've only had the one home match. We have another one today. Of course, folks won't get to see this in time, but they're playing this afternoon at 5 o'clock against St. John Lutheran. But we had the home opener, had a ribbon-cutting ceremony along with our tennis program last Wednesday. And that was the first time we got to see them in action, of course, against a tough Windermere prep squad that's had their program up and running for a little bit now. But I think one thing I've noticed in passing by or kind of poking my head and watching practice a little bit is the amount of respect that Chris Hamilton has sort of already gained from a lot of those indoor players who maybe weren't familiar with him or maybe they knew him from some club circuit stuff around the area. But he speaks, they listen. And I think that shows, one, I mentioned his collegiate background, right? And, of course, what that does. And sort of his resume speaks for itself. But when I watch him give instruction to whether it's players who've played in this program a while, like a Rylan Farkas or a Vivi Toussaint Martinez, like they are listening, like intently listening and applying what he is saying. And we're only in year one of this program, right? We said that. We don't know how it's going to turn out. I think, though, if we continue this and have Michelle Mormon's backing, of course, Michelle being the indoor volleyball coach and, of course, heavily involved in the youth program as well, in the off-season program. And then you have Chris Hamilton. You're talking two really good coaches, state championship winning coaches, done it at the next level. I think it's a program, I hate to say it in year one because I don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse, but I think it's a program on the rise for this athletic department at VHS.
Yeah, I think it's something that's going to be extremely popular, especially among female athletes. And, you know, there's been a big movement. The numbers for female athletes as they get to high school has been dropping significantly. And this is just another program where they're heavily featured and they get to participate in something. You know, the boys' game is probably a decade behind in terms of development into high school and all of that. But overall, it's great to see them. One of the things Misty May Trainer said was she would encourage any indoor player, you better be playing beach volleyball, and any beach player, you better be playing indoor at this level, because even though the skill sets are different and the games are different, some of it does translate, and overall it just helps your athleticism to be running through sand. I don't know if anybody's ever done that, tried to run on a beach, but sure is a lot harder than running on a wood court.
Yes, it definitely is. So, yeah, looking forward to big things out of the beach volleyball program. What Chris Hamilton's doing, I think it's tremendous. It's going to be exciting to watch for sure. Speaking of watching, if you can't make it out to any of our on-campus athletic events, of course, find us on live.tvcs.org. We've got all of our digital streaming on-campus events that we offer live streaming options for. Of course, we have the individual game passes, season passes, annual passes, you name it. That's going to get completely revamped soon. More on that as well in upcoming episodes. But live.tvcs.org, that's where you find all of our live streaming events, Marty. So the girls' tennis team off to a ridiculous start as well under head coach Kelly Hill. 10-0 they started. Unfortunately, just lost to Lecanto. I think they lost 5-2. Marty, we were out there for the opener, been out here a couple more times. I think the first thing I want to talk about is just how blown away I was by, first off, the excitement for the team, but then secondly, and I guess that goes into the excitement, is the participation numbers. For that opener, they had 15, 18 girls out there. Of course, you can only play with the 5 singles and then your 2 doubles pairs. That's all that counts. But holy smokes, they have got not only girls, but girls excited to play, and we're seeing the results because of it.
Yeah, tennis, most people kind of forget about it. I wouldn't say it's a forgettable sport, but it's just at the high school level.
The high school level.
Kind of forget about it because most of them play off campus. But here at the Villages, they play on campus, 8 courts just over my left shoulder, which you can't really see in frame. But, you know, it was great to see. All of the girls end up playing in some of the matches because they'll do exhibition games, and they actually end up playing inter-squad in those exhibition games sometimes too. But I want to say one of the teams that came over did have enough to be able to stretch out and play 8 or 9 of our girls, so that was good. Yeah, kind of interesting to see how that program's blossoming, especially under a new head coach this year.
Yeah, it's been exciting. Like I said, started 10-0. They were chasing the best record in program history, which was set a year ago. They were 12-0. The program started last year before finishing 12-3 overall and 13-3 overall. But yeah, off to a 10-0 start. See them over there practicing right now, and they just keep getting better, as we've said. So some other sports as well. Boys tennis well underway. I guess let's touch on flag football here a little bit. 8-3 right now. Some lopsided games, both good and bad. We've seen them win big, and then we saw them lose big, unfortunately, the other night.
They either win or they lose.
And that's sort of that. I think we see that all over, though, in flag football, especially in this area. There is not a whole lot of parity. It's either you're a really good program, you've been going for years and years, and you've got girls wanting and excited to play, or you're just starting up. This is just the second year of the flag football program, but 8-3 under Jamie LaCourse, and we're seeing athletes from other sports come out and play as well.
Yeah, we've got members of girls basketball. We've even got a couple girls that are also on the track team and run track in addition to playing flag football, and they're balancing those practices. And it's really great to see another sport that's growing. I'd say there's probably about 40 girls in that program. I think the roster size limit is like 20 or 25 per varsity and JV. And, we're one of the few teams in the area that has a fully fledged JV team that's, I don't want to say we're the only one that's organized, but one that's fully organized and not just kind of like the leftover girls that won't be able to play at the varsity level. Our JV team's struggling a bit, but, that's part of just learning the game and getting more girls interested. But, boy, varsity team, we've got multiple athletes there, too, that are getting college interest. It's a growing sport for college. I think it's kind of exciting. If you watch the NFL All-Star game, it's kind of the similar flag football concept, few rule changes and tweaks in there, but it's really a fun way to watch football, and it moves along. The clock's running, so the games don't last too long. But tell you what, if it's close, when that clock is stopping in the last 2 minutes, you can get a little excited there. And it's a lot of fun to watch them. And kind of bridging into them, those girls that are running track, the track team's really taking off too. Our girls are doing great in track, and boys are right along with them. Yeah, it's one thing I actually joked with Ben Willis about, the longtime track coach here. So you finally got those boys to match with the girls. The girls have been putting 200-point performances in a meet, which is insane to think about. You have to be a superior elite team. They were doing that last year consistently. Picked up right where they left off. You'd expect that. They've sort of created this culture, the girls team. But the fellows are here now, Marty. We're seeing that, especially in the running events. We're seeing it. Some of the long-distance runners, what they've been able to do. I'm talking the David Provolas, the Thatcher Clarks, the Nate Burtons. But holy smokes, they are starting to come along now. And this boys team, I think they've won their last 2 home meets. Or at least I know they were last Saturday. Yeah, they won their home meets. I believe they took second in the Wildwood meet. That was last week to Eastside High School out of Gainesville, always a perennial track program. Big-time track program. But they were only, I want to say, like within 20, 25 points of them, which is the difference in 2 or 3 events and a couple places in them. And I think what's really helped the boys team is it seems like the field side they've gotten better at. They have multiple athletes placing in the points of the field side of things. And it's funny. You look, everybody is watching the runners go around the track, and the field events kind of happen over between us on one of the grass fields, and then shot put's actually out there, but the discus and the javelin happen over there, and they kind of forgot about it. And then all of a sudden, you pull up the meet pro results, and you're like, "Hey, we just scored about 40 or 50 points right there." And if you haven't been to a track meet, 1, bring a lot of sunscreen because you're gonna be outside all day. But 2, it's incredibly fun to watch the way it's done, because if you sit up high enough, you get to see the races, but you can also easily turn left and right and see all the jumping events. You can see the shot put out in the distance. And, it's a lot of fun watching these athletes compete at such a high level. A lot of the athletes are now competing in indoor track up in Gainesville. And it's really carried over to the outdoor track season. And I think we're going to see a few of these runners end up running at some level in college, whether it's in a club team or they decide to go JUCO or lower level. Yeah, one last thought on that. It's kind of just your point and piggyback on it, though, is I think that's something that Coach Willis has done really well, and that's, I think using the word convince makes it sound like it has a negative connotation to it, but he has persuaded or encouraged athletes to jump up in different events. I mean, whether it be the pole vault or trying a jumping event or whatever it might be, or trying a running. I joked the other day, was it the 4x4s, the last? It's either 4x1 or 4x4. Yeah, the last relay race there of each meet. You had Hunter Stack, okay? If you know Hunter Stack, he's a lineman on the football team. Brighton Russ, who's a lineman, tight end, punter. You had 2 of those 4 guys running on your relay team because, A, trying to get the team points, right? And trying to fill out those spots. But B, also, I think it's just trying to better themselves. And that's 2 assets that I think Coach Willis has made it known for those athletes, that you're going to help the team, you're going to help yourself, and if you do other sports,
by jumping in and doing events. So, and ultimately, that's how you get points. If you can enter in a couple events, steal a place here or there, steal some placement points, before you know it, you look up on those Meet Pro standings and you're in the top of the standings.
Yeah, and all of it's building into the district and regional meets. You know, as you get to those, even if, say, your team doesn't win the district, which I think the girls will definitely do, the boys probably are going to do as well. But if you don't win the regional championship, you could still send multiple athletes to the state championships up at UNF in Jacksonville. So that I think is the goal. And last year we had a state champion winner, Kaylee Sosnowski, competing in javelin, and that's a program that's really taken off. And Coach Stroud is out there coaching that every single day, and you see them out there
every day
hurling sticks
every day. And in fact,
actually, they're out there right now.
He's probably over behind me. They're out there. So, anyways, yeah, really fun program. You'll get to see them actually if we can kick this episode out tomorrow. Thursday is their next home meet. 4:00 start, I think, on Thursday, March 21st. So tomorrow, have a home meet. What else we got coming up? We got baseball Friday night.
Baseball Friday, baseball Monday.
Baseball Monday during
then
spring break.
A bit of a break. And then I think all the sports really hit off. And, you know, it's great. We're kind of wrapping up the school year in terms of the athletic school year. And we're getting to that point where you start looking towards next year. And before you know it, what we're going to be talking about on this podcast is spring football. They're only a month away.
That's exciting. Exciting times on Buffalo Roundup. That's going to do it for this edition of Buffalo Roundup. Thanks for...
You know what? We did forget one. You want to talk about boys weightlifting just for a second?
Okay. And you know why? Because first of all, if you have ever been to a weightlifting meet, or if you've even just seen the photos we've posted of Malik Williams.
He's not a small dude.
He is not a small dude. And the amount of weight he is lifting is like equivalent of 3 small dudes. I wish I had the numbers in front of me. Again, we're doing this on the fly. But he threw up a weight the other day. Was it 300? He eclipsed 300 on something.
I think it was the clean. Did he clean 300?
Might have. Something insane. And looked like he was just going out to lunch while doing it. Like, was not breaking a sweat. Of course, he was exerting himself, but absolute unit. Coach Pop's taken that program over this year. I think the participation numbers are up. Of course, you always get your football guys out there. You get some other guys maybe aren't in a spring sport like a baseball, or there's a couple track guys in there as well lifting. But it's loud in there for meets in our stadium weight room here at the H.G. Moore Stadium, just underneath us.
But we are converting the Mark G. Morris for the regional weightlifting meet coming up here in just a couple weeks.
That's exciting, too. We held the girls' meet, the girls' weightlifting meet in there as well. That was a lot going on at once.
You get about 300, 400 athletes, all their parents, family, friends come out to it. It's an experience. And you know, weightlifting, once again, mostly football guys, but throw in a couple others. I think some of the track guys help fill out the lesser weight classes. And you really get to see, it's kind of like a conglomerate of all the boys that are interested in sports. And that team's always had a strong showing every single year. Not as much as the girls, but
sure.
I think this might be the year that a couple of our boys are heading to states and have a chance to place, if not maybe win and steal a weight class away.
Yeah, spearheaded by Malik Williams, as I mentioned. And I think they've won 3 or 4 head-to-head meets by sweeping both the traditional and the Olympic lifts. So obviously the 2 different competitions in one now in each of these meets. So yeah, really fun to watch them. If that's a spectacle in itself. No charge to come out and watch home weightlifting meets. So check athletics.tvcs.org for the schedule on that.
Or our social media.
You can find us at VHS.
Nope, at Villages Buffalo.
At Villages Buffalo.
He only created the accounts. Don't worry.
At Villages Buffalo on X, formerly Twitter.
Instagram.
You
can even search by that on Facebook. We have got it all set up. And
VHS Buffalo Athletics on Facebook.
We like to keep people updated, and we're trying to get more interest in it. If you're watching the video version of this, it's probably on YouTube and shared to our athletics website, athletics.tvcs.org.
Let us know how you like it, too.
Yeah. The comments will be open for that on the YouTube page, and obviously for every time you subscribe or like or you follow, any of that, it helps support our athletes. We're able to show them how much the community, their families, their friends care about. And honestly, that's what makes us do our jobs. We could care less about being on camera personally. We just want them to be recognized. And I think we might have a little surprise on the next episode and include some athletes.
Okay.
We've been wanting to do that for a few months now, and opening a new school, it turns out to be hectic, but I think next week we might try and do that.
Let's do it. Well, that'll do it on this edition of Buffalo Roundup. Like I mentioned, the upcoming events, you have track tomorrow afternoon, Thursday afternoon, March 21st. That's a 4 p.m. start. Baseball Friday night, I believe they're underway for JVs at 4, varsities at 6:30. And then they play again next Monday night as well. Athletics.tvcs.org for all that information. That'll do it on this edition of Buffalo Roundup. Marty, anything else to tell the folks?
Go Buffalo.
Go Buffalo.